Greetings from the Subetha. This is Alan with another quick color basic video. Tonight I'm going to discuss Microsoft and their Easter eggs that they put in BASIC. Microsoft was famous for doing this with their early project with Commodore, where they hid a message so if you ever needed to end up in court against Commodore, with them claiming that was their own BASIC, a Microsoft engineer could type in a secret command and the world could then see that it was indeed Microsoft BASIC on the inside. At least that's the story. There is one such Easter egg that I know about in the Color Computer ROM. If you clear the screen, you can give it a number, and that's the color to fill the screen with. Colors 1 through 8. But if you go higher than 8, it shows the message Microsoft. And there you go. That is the Microsoft Easter egg inside Color Basic for the Radio Shack Color Computer. But there was one more, except it was not fully implemented. Sort of. The discussion that I've read claims that Microsoft ported the 6809 processor version of BASIC from a different processor, such as the 6502. People believe that because they look at the way some things were done, and it doesn't look like they were taking advantage of some of the features of the 6809 processor. So it's believed that it was ported from the 6502 version of BASIC, which was done for Commodore and Apple IIs, things like that. In those computers, there was some kind of Easter egg hidden in the ROM and some way to get to it. But that doesn't exist in the Color Computer version of BASIC. However, the hidden message is still in the ROMs. And here's a program that I wrote to display it. If you look at line 30, I'm going to go through some memory, starting at BFEF down to BFE6, because this message is encoded backwards. So I actually walk through memory location BFEF in hex to BFE6 step -1. So I'm going to scan through it backwards. And the message is stored in the ROM, but it's disguised. Microsoft kind of randomly set the high 2 bits. So it didn't look like a normal message. If it was a string of ASCII characters, they would all be in a certain range, 65 through 96, and you could go, oh, those are letters. So the first thing they did was the message is like A starts with a 0, B is a 1, C is a 2, and so on. But by them setting those 2 high bits, the numbers might be really low, then really big, really low, and they just look like garbage. So line 40, I get a value by peeking memory location L, and I AND it with 3F, and that'll mask off the top 2 bits, leaving just the rightmost 6 bits, which is the actual message. Line 50, I will create a string. If you look at line 20, I've got the alphabet, then some space characters, ... then an exclamation mark, because the message is just characters of the alphabet and an exclamation mark. I didn't need to define the entire character set, just the letters and the exclamation mark. So I'm going to print out the mid string of this P string based on the value, which will be 0 through whatever, 1 character. So that's what I'm doing with C string. I'm getting that character. Then I'm printing out to the screen the memory location, the value that's there, and then the value that's had that bit removed, and then finally the actual translated character. So if I run this, we get this. Memory location BFEF contains the hex value CD. When you mask off the top 2 bits, it's a D, which is letter M. These are in hex. BFEE, value is 8 to 9. You mask off the top 2 bits, it's a 9. Well, the I, if A is 0, that's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That's the 9th letter. That's an I. And so on. So if you go through memory, you find Microsoft and the exclamation mark in memory in the Color Computer ROMs backwards from BFEF to BFE6 with those top 2 bits toggled on to kind of make it look a little noisy. Now, I don't know when this was discovered, but back in the early 80s, when the Color Computer was still relatively new, there was a series of books that came out. The first one was Color Basic Unraveled, and it was a disassembly of the 6809 BASIC ROM code. And in that book, it actually describes these memory locations as something like unused garbage or whatever. So if we knew about it back then, the people that were doing the disassembly were unaware that this was some kind of Easter egg. So probably somebody learned about this later on with some other processor and then noticed the bytes were in the color computer, and there it is. So whoever ported BASIC to the 6809 for Microsoft included these bytes, didn't know what they were for and left them in, but didn't port the code to display them. So there you go. We've got the CLS Easter egg, and then we've got the encoded in ROM and no way to get to it without writing a program like this Easter egg. So happy Easter, everybody. Until next time, don't panic.